And get to this breaking news on the sports front. We've got our sports director, Nick Carboni, joining us right now in the Live Impact News studio as we are on the eve of the NBA trade deadline, but Hornets are making some moves.
Yeah, and I think the biggest headline here, Vanessa, is for once and for the first time in a long time, the Hornets are buyers at the trade deadline. Of course, they had to sell off some assets to gain some assets, but I think in the long run, it's a plus move for the Hornets. So let's break it down. According to ESPN's Shams Charania, the Bulls sending point guard Coby White, veteran guard Mike Conley to the Hornets. The Hornets in return sending reserve guard Colin Sexton, who's been very good this year, as well as 3 second-round picks, and center Ousmane Dieng, I'll get to that in a moment, back to Chicago. But at face value, the Hornets have won 7 straight games. They are nearing a play-in seed that's 7 through 10 in the NBA with a little more than 30 games to go. They clearly feel like they can play postseason basketball and get to the playoffs, whether that's getting a top 6 seed or getting to the play-in and playing their way in. And Coby White has been starting for the Bulls for several years. He scores 18 points a game. He's a scoring guard. He's from North Carolina. He played for the Tar Heels. I remember covering him at a high school all-star game here in Charlotte 6 years ago. So this is a player that they feel can elevate them in the minutes LaMelo Ball does not play for the most part. And we know that on back-to-backs, the Hornets have preferred to keep LaMelo coming off the bench in one of those games. Coby White is fully capable of starting and scoring and providing offense when LaMelo is not on the floor, which sometimes had been a problem, as good as Colin Sexton had been in stretches. So, you know, I think the headline here is they're buyers. They believe that they can make a push, and we'll see what happens. The deadline is still about 24 hours away, so there are more moves that could be made.
And actually, as you were just walking here into the studio, it looks like we did get a response from the president of basketball operations, Jeff Peterson, about Mason Plumlee as well.
Yeah, so Mason Plumlee, so, part of this trade was Charlotte sending Ousmane Dieng to the Bulls. Well, Ousmane Dieng doesn't play for the Charlotte Hornets. He plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So prior to making this swap with the Bulls, the Hornets sent Plumlee to Oklahoma City for Dieng, one of the second-round picks. They packaged that all up and sent it to Chicago. Dieng never gets on a plane to Charlotte. He goes straight to Chicago, and we'll see what they want to do with him there. I haven't seen what Peterson had mentioned, though, but that's kind of who is Dieng. That's who Dieng is, and he's now in Chicago.
So the other thing I guess I'm kind of curious about is what could happen after this point, because you did mention that we still have, tomorrow is the deadline, so there's still some time to make more moves.
I mean, they could always add a big man, although Moussa Diabate has been such a great story. He's part of a starting lineup that has been the best in the NBA all year long, but now Plumlee's gone, so that, opens the door for another, rotational center. I don't think they're going to make the big move for like Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I saw
this
that
trade
yesterday.
Deadline, right? But it's cool to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think they're there yet. I think this is a good measured move that says we believe we can get to the playoffs this season, and then next season off of that, we believe we can make a deep run. So I think the big move for the Charlotte Hornets probably won't come until this offseason or next trade deadline, but this is certainly a step in a different direction than we've seen the better part of the last decade, where it's, hey, these guys have all played well together, everything's going great, but we need to recoup some assets. So we're not going to be very good the second half of the season after the All-Star break, but we're going to get some assets for the future. This is a clear move to say we can go right now and make the play-in and potentially the playoffs.
Now, I mean, I know one of the chatterings that I've heard lately too is like Miles Bridges, and there seems to be a lot of interest, but it also feels like you're kind of busting up the team.
Yeah, and that's been what I've been wondering what they're going to do with this team the last couple of weeks, because they've been so good. And Miles Bridges is part of the core of that. He's part of that starting lineup that's only lost one time when they're out on the floor together to start a game. It does seem like that Miles Bridges trade talk, which we've heard for years now, has cooled down for this deadline period. Perhaps in the offseason, But I think they want to keep this starting lineup together right now and see where they can go.
Yeah. And then interestingly enough, the other one that caught my eye, getting the Ball brothers together. I saw that one
Sometimes
maybe 2
the
days
internet
ago.
gets the trades that it wants. It would make sense. It would have made sense to bring in Lonzo Ball perhaps as a backup guard, but now they've got one with
Yeah.
Coby White, who's going to start and back up.
Very interesting stuff. I know you're working on a lot too for our news here.
Greg Olson. We
4 or
got
5,
Hall of
yeah.
Fame for Luke Kuechly, Rookie of the Year for T-Mac, Olympics coming up, Daytona coming up. So this is just a part of it, but it's fun and you know it's a positive light that we're talking about the Hornets in lately.
I love it. I mean, their games are just so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I was at that matinee, the one that got
Didn't
pushed
sound
back
like it
on-
was half full.
on-
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. There were
Yeah.
a lot of people there, especially like considering too it was moved earlier.
Yeah.
And you know, I saw the whole LaMelo Ball like banging into Charles Lee
That- I
situation,
mean,
and the momentum dropped, but they picked it right back
and
up.
then, and then Coach Lee gets Eastern Conference Coach of the Month the very next day, which was hilarious. He poked fun at himself. That was a weird moment. Never seen that before. But you're right. This Hornets team is fun. If they win 8 in a row, which would require a victory tomorrow night at Houston, first time since the 90s they've done that. We all know how fun the Hornets were in the 90s. They're kind of getting back to that, which is awesome.
Love it, love it.